What's going on, everybody? Sorry for my delayed entrance there. Had a couple of technical difficulties here, not with the gear, but with my fire back there. So, for those of you guys who don't know, I've actually been short on wood for quite some time, and I've been borrowing it from my neighbor 2 houses down for quite a while as well. Until last weekend and this weekend, when all three of us, my neighbor, Silverback, and myself, we all went down to cut this tree, which you're going to hear more about. I've actually talked about it a little bit. So outside of my neighborhood over here, there's an intersection called 85th Incline, because 85th Incline, they intersect. And the corner lot over there had like a dead giant oak tree, right? It's been there for a while, and we actually had a really snowy morning on Halloween, and with that snow, tons of wind, which was enough to finally knock that tree over after quite some time. And because of that, we saw the tree. We went up to the lady that lived there and told her, "Hey, if you guys want, we'll take this off your back." And they were totally on board with it. And with that, we had restocked the whole basement up with some wood. And on top of that, it's going to bring me into the next thing. That's pretty much what I've been burning with. I haven't been taking wood from my neighbor's backyard anymore. And because of that, it's still fresh, it's still a little wet, so it's going to take a little bit to burn. And on top of that, it's oak. It's oak wood. And if there's one thing that I'm sure everyone knows about oak wood, is that it's a slow burner, right? So not the best, but it's actually kind of nice, because while the fire's not roaring, that means I'm not going to have to get up so many times during this to change that. Oh yeah, sorry about the black mark. Let me get that off there. Maybe you can see what I'm talking about a little better. There you go. See? Fire's somewhat... it's starting to pick up a little. I guess it's just my impatient nature. My dad will tell you guys, I am not a very patient person. In fact, patience is one of my weaknesses, but it's something that I preach a lot about on my channel, so... especially when it comes to having a nice lawn. So I guess I gotta practice what I preach, and on top of that, just gotta learn to be patient, And at the end of the day, I guess the best thing I could say to everybody here is, do what I say, not what I do, right? There's one thing I hear a lot around my household, it would be that exactly. Let's get this sweatshirt off. This is what I wore when I went out to chop the wood. So it's getting hot down here now, very slowly. But yeah, man, I'm ready to do this. Let's do it. So let me open up the iPad here. Once again, those of you guys who've been waiting here for a while, I'm so sorry I was late. Things just happen, man. It's life, and it's even more challenging when you got to do these things in real life. It's not like my videos where I could say, "Oh, I'll film this part Wednesday, film that part Friday." I got to do all this in one shot on Friday night, and sometimes it's hard to make it on time when you got stuff going on. Am I right? But I'm sure you guys understand. I apologize for the inconvenience, but once again, we will work on that as we go into the winter here. So let me get on here real quick, and then I'll introduce the show. And then we'll dive into the bread and butter, which is going to be the questions. Alright. So, looks like we're set up and running. We're good. By the way, my hair looks a little funky on here. I apologize. Actually, I don't apologize. You know why? Because Silverback, the neighbor, and myself went down the street again to cut more of that tree. So, probably not looking the best right now, but that's because I'm putting in the work, man. Scary Vaynerchuk would say, I'm putting in the work, mofo. Alright, so, let's get into this. What's going on, guys? I'm Jake the Lawn Kid. Welcome back to another episode of Lawnfires, where the lawns are green, the fires are hot, and the questions are engaging. For those of you guys who are new here, basically what this is, it's a live fireside chat type of Q&A that I do every Friday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time now. It used to be Daylight Savings Time, but we had the clocks go back for Standard Time now. So expect it to be 6 p.m. Central Standard Time from now on, or maybe going into the winter. We might even go earlier. I don't know, but I'm still trying to learn what works and what's not. In fact, if you guys have any feedback, anybody that's watching this later, I want to know when I can get most of your guys' attention, because that's a big thing with these shows, is that I know when I'm available, but I don't know when everybody else is available. In fact, I don't even know if Friday night's the optimum thing anymore, because everybody's just so busy. But I will get back in here. So, anyway, for those of you guys who are new here, this is basically a live Q&A I do with a fire in the back, and I answer some of your most common asked lawn questions live and in real time via the YouTube chat of this live stream. And the way any of you guys that are new, the way that you can chat with me or ask me any questions is you go below the video. You're going to see a couple of icons here. You want to click on the one that says chat, because click on the one that says chat, and then you'll get a little message bar right here where you can see all the previous comments, and you can also write your own. And then as I scroll through, I will eventually get to it. So anyway, with all that being said, let's get into the bread and butter of the show, and that is going to be your questions. That's right, this is open format for those of you guys who are new here. Ask me anything, anytime during this show, and I guarantee you I have the answer. Now, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, if it's a little over my head, I will be open with you on that, because I'm 17 years old. I'm no Einstein at this, right? And I don't expect, I'm sure you guys don't expect that of me, but if you do, I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. I don't know everything, so I'll be honest with you, but I do have some potential connections that I can send your way to help you guys out in case you have any questions. So if you do have any of those questions, feel free to leave them in here, and I will get to them as soon as I can. All right, so with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Now keep in mind, if you ask a question and I skip it, nothing's intentional about it. It's just what happens when you do these streams. But for the most part, when I do go through, I do like to start from the very top and work my way down. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And as you can see, my buddy Sean McLaughlin in here. What's up, man? Hey, sorry, man. Sorry if you've been waiting, man. Once again, life just gets in the way. And on top of that, I'm not the best at building fires, but I got it. Mike Morris, RVA, are you using Carbon X? Absolutely. Oh, these are all different questions. I'm starting Carbon X next spring. Very excited about it. Maureen, I am here to tell you, after using it on the LCN Lawn Revival to bring it back, I've had nothing but good words to say about it. You're going to be very happy with the results next year. I stand by that. That's one of those products that I just totally stand by. And if you haven't tried it, I recommend you do. Let's see. You had a family thing and was able to do my aerating and seeding earlier. Oh, these are just dialogue. People are talking to each other. That's what I like about this. I'll have to go back and read those later. Oh man, you guys had some fun in here while I was gone. I'm kind of upset about that. I should have been in here. Here. I think now everybody's coming in here. Fire's taking off. That's good. Start adding to it in a minute. Okay, let me get back in here. Andy's Lawn Care and Outdoor Adventures. Okay, this is our first question here. Jake, what do you think about Menard's Crabgrass Preventer? It's a 2603, contains dithiopyr. Do you think it's okay to apply next April when soil temps hit 45, 55, my bad, or wait a bit longer, ready for 2020? Okay, so Andy, it doesn't matter what you get, as long as you get the active ingredient down, that's fine. Now, ideally, what we would preach to you is that you do want something that contains the least amount of nutrient value as possible, because we want to be able to have some flexibility with that. We want to be able to gauge that up and down as we please, especially if we're on a low nitrogen input coming into the spring, which you're going to hear me talking about later on, right? We've stocked the lawn up with so much nitrogen going into the winter here, and because of that, it's going to be overstocked in the spring. There's really going to be no need to hit it hard in the spring. So anyway, we'll be talking about that. But yeah, if you do want to use the 2603, by all means, go ahead and do it. But if you do want to cut back on that nitrogen a little bit, which I recommend if you have been stocking your lawn up for the winter, definitely go at the lowest use rate. Now keep in mind you may have to apply a little more often, or you can also get a different type of dithiopure blended product without the nitrogen, which I do recommend later on. But if overall, if you want to use it, go ahead. Ain't gonna hurt a thing. Ain't gonna hurt a thing, just not ideal, but once again, you'll be fine. Good call. Good call, Kenny. I'll have to check that out. You're patient. You don't just realize it. You're patient. You just don't realize it yet. You need to be patient growing grass. Come on now. Mike, I love the encouragement, man. Thanks. Jake, can the next products be kept in the garage over the winter? I live in Cincinnati, or should I take them inside? Mark, Hydro, you can leave them in the garage. It's not going to affect them. But if you can control it, if you can control it, bring them in the house, right? If it's not that big of a deal, just bring them in anyway. But if you are in a situation where you have to leave them in the garage, it's not necessarily going to hurt them, but it's just not something I advocate, right? It's not, like I said, it's not going to hurt it, but I don't advocate it. So if you can, bring it inside, and if you can't, you should be fine. I've had products, I still have jugs that have been in my garage for 2 years now, and I've used them, and not really noticing a significant difference negatively, really. As far as negativity goes, it's working just fine. So as long as you, as long as you shake it up before you use it, you should be fine. Did you do anything with the big project lawn this fall? The one you and Alan started together. Andy, yes I did, and there's going to be a video coming out all about it next Monday. Not this coming Monday. This coming Monday is going to be the last episode of the Next Step Liquid Lawn Care program for 2019. There's going to be more on that next season. But after that, I am going to be releasing my video that I shot over at the Basaga house, or the Basaga lawn, or whatever you want to call it, the JTLK LCN collab lawn. That's the lawn I'm talking about. That's going to be the following Monday. Not this coming Monday, but the following Monday. So so if you haven't, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notification bell, and stay tuned, because that will be coming up very soon. Is there anything that I can kill weeds with inside my ground cover? What do you mean by ground cover? Sorry, I don't mean to sound crazy or anything. It's not a word I hear very often. How to kill clover in the cool weather like this is coming up all in the yard. A-Dog, your best bet would be to just let the weather take care of it. Let Mother Nature do that, because at this point, even the lawns, it's getting so cold now. We were in the 30s today, high of 30s. Sorry, I had like 2 or 3 granola bars before this. I'm gonna have a good dinner after this. But anyway, as I was saying, we've had highs in the 40s, and because of that, the ground is actually getting to that point where it's about to freeze, and In addition to that, I'm noticing that the grass is actually starting to enter the first phase of dormancy, winter dormancy, right? So the weeds are going to do the same thing. So my best bet to you would be, if you're getting the same temperatures I am, like the temperatures are in the 40s, 50s, and they're only going to go down from here, then just don't treat them, because what's going to happen is those temperatures are naturally going to kill off the weeds. They're going to bury down deep, and then what you can do is in the spring next year is focus on working on the existing grass, right? Nurture it with the big three that we talked about. Good mowing, right? Mowing twice a week at least, every 3 days at most, or maybe a little bit more because it's only going to help it. And on top of that, fertilize regularly, right? You want to make sure you're fertilizing every 4 weeks, whether that's 3/4 pound of nitrogen from Carbon X or a 1/4 pound of nitrogen from 1801 Green Punch. No matter what you do, you want to get on a good fertility regimen and make sure that the lawn is consistently getting fed. Make sure that the lawn is getting consistently fed. And on top of that, you also want to make sure you're doing your part by supplemental irrigating in the spring, which, by the way, you're not really going to have to do if you live anywhere where I do in the Midwest, right? We get all this rain, so I wouldn't worry about it. But it's a good idea to do a little supplemental watering here and there, especially on the days where it doesn't rain. Like, let's say you want to get the lawn water Monday. Let's say you want to get the lawn water at least 2 times a week during the spring because it's growing fast. Tuesday and Friday. So let's say you get all this rain in the week, but it doesn't rain Friday. That's a good idea to implement a supplemental watering there, just to make sure that you compensate and keep the inputs consistent. That's what I would do. Excuse me. Jesse, welcome, brother. I hear you're a complete novice. Well, let's dive into your question here. I'm a complete novice. I live in Vacaville, that's how you pronounce it, California, Northern California. We won't get below until January. Can we plant grass seed? Can plant seed? Will it succeed? Will you succeed with your seeding? Jesse, let me tell you something. So when we do the videos about grass seed, or really when anybody asks me about grass seed, the main thing I'm going to tell you is seed in the fall, right? And the reason we recommend that is not because it works best in the fall, but mostly because that's the situation that gives us cool season grass people a sufficient amount of time. Because you can do it in the spring, you can do it in the summer, you can do it whenever you want. It ain't going to hurt it. But if you do it in the fall, you're going to give the seed enough time to germinate, grow in, establish, and harden off, and then it can go into winter, right? It can overwinter, and then once we get into spring and things wake back up, it's just going to finish maturing. Whereas if you seed in the spring, you're still going to get great results. But the biggest problem you're going to have is that if you live where I do and you have cool season grass, like Kentucky bluegrass and fescue, the temperatures, instead of gradually going back down into the ideal zone for cool season grasses, they're actually going to be going up, right? So let's say that 70 degrees, in fact, this is real, 70 degrees is the ideal time to start planting grass seed, right? So in the spring, it would be reversed. Because as I talked about in the fall, you start with 70 degrees, and then once you get into winter, and then as you go in from fall into the winter, the ending of that seeding period is going to be when your soil temperatures hit 55. Now, in the springtime, it's going to be the opposite. The temperatures are going to come up to 55, and once they do, you're in the ideal time for seeding. And it's when they hit 70 that you're out of that ideal time. Now, again, the reason I say that is because once you're above or below that, you're going to get good results, but you're probably not going to have enough time if you're on the end of that, going out of spring into the summer, because it's going to get hot, and if you miss some watering, it's going to cost you big time, especially if the seed is not germinated. Sorry if I'm rambling a little bit. I hope you guys are picking up what I'm saying. But the idea being is that you want to make sure you have enough time. So if you do it in the spring, do it early, right? Do it as soon as you can. Before your next blizzard, go ahead and do it. It ain't going to hurt it. Right before the next blizzard, you can do that going into winter, and you'll get something. Anyway, if you want more information on that, let me know, and I'll dive more into detail on that. What are you doing?
I'm gonna take a shower. You better check your fire.
Man, you know what? This thing was a pain to get going.
Fire?
Yeah. The oak burns slow. Fix that real quick. Okay. Fescue Freddy, John Perry said, "Don't let the products freeze." Okay. I guess the reason I say it's okay is because Paul actually did a video experimenting when they froze certain products from the line, and it didn't affect their efficacy whatsoever. But if John says don't freeze it, he's the man. I'd listen to him. Who am I? I'm just a guy that happens to like his products and uses them. I don't know him as well as he does. So if John says something, don't confuse it with what I tell you. Take his word over mine. It's his product. And once again, he's the man. Anyway, real quick, I want to finish this. So let me get back to my explanation. I'm not going to go too far in depth on this. I'm going to keep this as short and concise as possible. So we tell you to seed in the fall because you get more time, and the temperatures are going to be optimal for a longer period of time. You've got the temperatures trending down in the fall, and then you've got that period of time in the spring where they're trending up and they're still in the ideal temperatures before they get too hot. Now, I recommend seeding around fall primarily because you're going to get more time, and if you miss a watering, it's no big deal because the weather's getting cooler and more rain is coming back into the forecast, which is more leeway for you. Now, that's not to say that if you guys are more advanced and you actually have the resources to pull it off, you can't do it in the summer. It's just that for my beginners here, do it in the fall. But for those of you guys who are more advanced, if you happen to have the resources to do it, by all means, seed whenever you want. Because I promise you, it's going to come up either way. In fact, I have some experiments I'm going to be doing on the channel over the winter here to show you guys the flexibility of grass seed, right? I've talked about it before, but I figured I might as well show you. So my project lawn that I'm working on, that I was working on with Alan, that he basically left me for dead on, so now it's just mine. Just kidding, Alan, if you're in here. Anyway, you get the point, right? Alan couldn't just keep coming out here long term to take care of it. He wanted to do like a fall thing and then be done with it. But me, ever since I've started this, I started thinking, I'm getting off topic here for a minute, but ever since I've started this project lawn, I didn't just want it to be a one and done project that I do for the channel where we do like, okay, here's fall aeration overseeding, here's what it looks like in the spring, and then the summer and we're done, right? In fact, I want this to be kind of like a pure living for life thing. Have you guys seen that YouTube channel? If you haven't, what it is it's a husband and a wife, and they have like these, they have this cabin or whatever they're building, and what their channel's about is they're just documenting like all the different additions and at all the different additions that they're doing to their house to finalize it, if you will, which I think is pretty awesome. And based on what I'm seeing, it doesn't look like they're going to be done with it anytime soon. And it's the same with this lawn. Like Rich, my buddy Basaga over there, Rich, he has so many good visions for this lawn. Like he wants to make it bigger. And I figured, hey, this would be a great documentation for the channel, right? Let's kind of do it like that. Like let's not just do a one and done, kind of like Alan wanted to do, but it's fairly close. It's right down the street. Let's keep messing with it. Let's see what we can do to it, and let's see what we can do to get the lawn bigger and better than what it is right now. Let's see what we can do to get it bigger and better. That's really all there is to it. So, in the meantime, haven't done anything yet, but when I do, I will let you guys know as soon as I can. So, again, if you haven't, subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell, and stay tuned for those videos coming up. Okay, so let me go ahead and get back in here. So anyway, Jesse, to answer your question, if you're not going to freeze till January, you should be fine. I know I'm sorry I got a little detail on this, but sometimes it just has to be done. Um, so, Jesse, you're good, man. Go ahead and do it because if you have from now all the way to January, so that's like what, 12 weeks, I think? I could be 10 weeks, right? And really all you need for your seed to get established, um, the most you need for your seed to be established is 6 weeks. And that's with daily watering, right? You want to make sure you're watering daily, 3 times a day, um, 20 minutes each time for the first 30 days for the first 4 to 6 weeks, right? That's what you want to do. And then after that, you could start transitioning back down to a regular irrigation. Like maybe you back it down from watering every day to every other day, and then you get it down to every 3 days, watering a half inch. And then after that, you back it down to 3 times a week, half inch. And then maybe the week after that, 2 weeks, half inch each time, right? That type of thing, right? Because the idea being is that you want to make sure you're doing your part in watering. So, Jesse, to answer your question, yes, you can do it, no problem. I have some clover patches. Do you think I should wait till spring to get rid of it? Mike Morris, you can spray them if you want to. I should have mentioned this earlier, but I didn't. I actually did a video. Aiden, my moderator, if you're in here, can you link below to my video that I did all about weeds, the one that I did back in June? What I talked about in that video were the 2 best times to kill any nuisance weeds in your lawn. The 2 best times are going to be in the spring as they're growing and they're premature. They're in their premature state, and the first best time is going to be in the fall. The fall time, like I talked about in my last video, and you're going to hear more about it in the next video, albeit the explanation is going to be a little bit different. We're going to have a little bit of a different illustration to back it up for those of you guys who for those of you guys who are trying to comprehend this. So check that out coming out Monday. But as I've talked about, when we get to this point in the season where the temperatures are getting cooler, the amount of sunlight that the lawn is getting is going down, the main objective of the grass plant is going to change. Rather than spring and summer where we have all the sunlight you can imagine and the warm temperatures to kind of help kickstart the growth and keep the soil soft, instead of the lawn putting all of its time and energy into stimulating root and top growth, its main priority now is going to be to stock up for next season. As I've said before, absorb and store anything you give to it, like nitrogen, right? Like I was talking about earlier. Well, it's the same with the weeds. If you spray them right now, especially with the surfactant, your weed control, it's going to be really effective because you got to remember, instead of absorbing the energy and growing, the plants are absorbing and storing the energy. So if you spray it with weed control right now, I'm talking about the dandelions here. If you spray those with weed control, you are going to get really effective results. Now, do I advocate generally using Roundup right now? Absolutely not. In fact, ideally, you probably should have done it 5 to 6 weeks ago, especially if you're getting really cool temperatures right now, like soil temperatures are in the 30s. I wouldn't risk it, right? It's just going to be too cold, and you don't want to spray product that's not going to work, especially if the temperatures are too cold for it. So if you want, you can keep it simple. And just let it go, right? Let it go. Let the winter take care of it. Let it become winter kill. And then once you get to the springtime, as I talked about earlier, focus on the big 3. Mowing, fertilizing, watering. Mow frequently, at least twice a week. That's what you want to aim for. I try to do mine every 3 to 4. I try to do mine with 3 to 4 day intervals in between without mowing. And then as far as fertilization goes, I like to get on a monthly feeding, especially if you have clay soil. So whether that's 3/4 pound of nitrogen a month of Carbon X or 1801 Green Punch 0.25 or a 1/4 pound of nitrogen with that product. The idea being is you want to make sure you're feeding it consistently, and with clay soil, you want to give it those larger doses every 4 to 5 weeks. Make sense? Oh yeah, and I left one out, irrigation. You want to make sure you're doing your part. Going into the summer, things start looking dry. That's when you have to start supplemental watering. If you're getting rain help, ideally you want to do that 2 times a week. If not, your best bet would be to do it 3 times a week, as I've talked about before. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, half inch each time. You'll be fine. Hey Jake, I'm EOD357. Turf Therapy, I like your name. I was the guy asking about the MD visit this summer. I finally started my own channel. Congratulations, awesome to hear that. I'll be using this account from now on. Just wanted you to know who I was. Okay, well, what's up, man? Glad to see you again. But yeah, as far as for those of you guys who are wondering, I will be going to Maryland at some point next summer. The dates aren't official yet, um, but it's in the books. It's in the books. We'll be talking more about it soon. And I don't know what we're going to do down there. We might have a meetup, we might not. But Aiden and I have a lot of stuff that we want to accomplish, which I'm not going to talk about because you guys already know. And I don't want to spoil the surprise because him and I got some cool stuff coming up. But I don't know what the plans are yet. I don't know how long Aiden and I are going to do our thing. And because of that, a meetup is just, it's the last thing on my mind right now. But if I can incorporate it in there at some point, I will try. Northern California here too, much different climate than the rest of California, so we can't always follow the regular advice given to the west. Okay, so like I said, NorCal, if you saw my response to Jesse, who was asking if he could seed now as his temperatures don't go down and his soil typically doesn't freeze until January, then by all means, go for it. Go for it, man. I'm all for it. Because like I said, the most you need is 6 weeks for the things to for the grass seed to germinate and establish and harden off and all that. Top that off with daily watering for those 6 weeks, and you will be popping. All right. I've been stocking up this fall. 0.75 pounds, three times since Labor Day. 2¼ pound of nitrogen since Labor Day, 1 Milo application, and 2 winterizer applications. Yeah, man, just stock it up. Like Alan and I have been talking about the past couple of weeks, just stock that mofo up. I'm serious, because then that way we're not going to have to push it too hard in the spring. We can focus more on implementing micronutrients, and we typically do that with the microgreen product, right? And our main objective there is to balance things out, especially after hammering the lawn with nitrogen going into winter to grow strong in the spring. What happened to Alan's church project lawn? Jim Bob, he has not. He gave up on it. Well, I wouldn't say he gave up on it, but it was just a year-long thing that he did in 2013, so 6 years ago, and hasn't really done anything else to it since. It's doing good. Haven't been down there in a while. I mean, the grass, after not being treated properly for quite some time, could use some work, but for the most part, good standard turf there. We just need to give it some TLC that it hasn't had in quite a while. You know what? That'd be a cool project lawn. What if I land that? Set up my, he always said that lawn never had irrigation. I just go over there and set up my custom-made JTLK system. I think I'm not considering it because I already got enough projects going on around here already, so I don't know if we're going to do it. But I would like to. Brian Noel, the 2 most important fertilizer apps are Memorial Day and when the grass stops growing in late fall. If anything you do, these are the 2. Okay. That's right, Sean. Brian, what's more important? Okay, so to clarify this for Ryan, he's talking about the 2 nitrogen applications. Memorial Day, it's kind of important, but it's not. It's not that big of a necessity, especially if the weather's been hot and dry for you. And like I talked about, my main objective nowadays isn't to hammer nitrogen. My main objective is to get the soil to the best of its ability, right? I want to focus on filling in those micronutrient gaps, right? We've been giving the lawn NPK, stocking it up for the winter. Now let's add a little more variety in there, right? Let's back off on the nitrogen and focus on the micros, right? Because, like, here's how you got to think about it. Think of it like anything in life. Think about it like your body, for example. Like, my body is functioning right now, but if I was, say, deficient on a majority of my nutrients, I'd still be functioning, but not as efficiently as I would if all those nutrients were in place and balanced out. It's the same with the grass. It's surviving and thriving, but it's only doing it off of those three macronutrients, right? So it's surviving, but it's not feeling its best. It's kind of like when you eat a bunch of junk food, you feel like garbage. The lawn's the same way. It looks good, but you don't really know what's going on deep down below. It's probably not that healthy for it. So Memorial Day, you can do it, but to be honest with you, it's kind of redundant if you think about it, because the temperatures are getting hotter, right? We're heading out of our spring rains, and at that point, that's when I want you to start thinking about two things, and that's going to be microdosing, again, with products like the 2% potassium microgreen or 5% potassium aerate. Experiment with those products as well as the micronutrients that come from the microgreen. And on top of that, irrigation, right? Irrigating deep and infrequent, promoting deep root growth. That's our big thing in the summertime. Anyway, as I was saying, Brian, so the one that's most important is going to be going into winter, right? Whereas the one in the spring, that's mostly for aesthetics right then, there, and now. Whereas applying nitrogen right now, that's only going to benefit you for the good of your lawn next spring, and that's something you want to think about. So to answer Ryan, the most important is going to be your fall applications heading into winter. Sorry. Andy's Lawn Care and Outdoor Adventures. Do you miss putting down Milorganite on your lawn? Not really. I mean, what is there to miss? I get to put it down on all my other project lawns, right? I gotta say though, after using Greene County's products for 2 years now, I am 100% confident to tell you that I love spraying liquids more than I do applying granular. I don't know, especially for my 2,000 square foot plot here, which is the main stage, right? It's really the only piece of the lawn that I baby all throughout the year. Everything else, I leave it for dead. I let it go into dormancy. I let it do its thing. But this section of the lawn right here, that's my baby. I'm watering it 3 times a week, watering it deep, and on top of that, I'm also hitting it with. I've also been hitting it with a lot of micro products like the 002 microgreen from Greene County, as well as a couple of other products from their line like RGS, Aerate, which is again very abundant in potassium, and on top of that, Green Punch. That's another one I've been using a lot. Green Punch is another one I like to use in the summer, especially because of the fact that even when you go high with it, you don't really get a whole lot of nitrogen out of it. About a quarter pound at most. I think the highest you can go is a third pound, but quarter pound is ideally where I'm going to recommend you go with it. What is the benefit of Carbon X versus a high nitrogen content from Scott's? DIY Lawn Care Monster. So I don't really know a whole bunch about the science behind that, but I can tell you a couple of things. The first thing is the sourcing. With most synthetic products that you get out there, they're very effective, but when it comes to the makeup of synthetics, you've got to realize that sometimes not all you got to realize that sometimes 100% of the product isn't going to be any nutrient value. In fact, some of it's going to be filler to add weight to the granules so that when you spread them, they go evenly. They're distributed evenly across when you spread them. So with Carbon X, nothing in there is filler. In fact, everything in there is going to provide nutrient value in some way, shape, or form. Right? You got the biochar in there. You got the fulvic acid. You got the iron. Right? You got your N and your K. You got all sorts of good things in there that are just going to help improve the overall quality of your soil. Whereas with a straight synthetic product, that's probably a little bit better for winterizing or greening your lawn up fast, or if you're looking to spend less money, because you're going to get the NPK. You're going to get primarily the N and the K from standard synthetics, but the biggest problem that you'd run into is the fact that you're not really going to be nurturing your soil. You're just going to be stimulating top growth. And as I've talked about before, you want to feed that soil as much as you can so that you're building a better habitat, if you will, for your lawn in the long run. So DIY lawn care, that's the best answer I can give you. If you want more information, I highly recommend asking Matt. If you haven't checked out his channel, I recommend you do The Grass Factor, which I'm sure you know him by now if you know his product. But definitely tune into his live show that he does. He does like an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of content every Sunday night around 9 p.m. my time, 9 p.m. Eastern. And he stays on till about 10:30, 11. So if you want to get on there and talk with Matt live in real time about his product and you want more of a scientific answer to that, he's the man to go to. He knows it. He knows everything, every nook and cranny about it as it is his product. Me, once again, like my relationship with Greene County, it's just another product that I happen to love and represent because I believe in it, right? But it's not one of those things that I'm an Einstein. I know all the answers to everything, right? It's not that. So once again, go check out Matt Martin for all the details. Okay, sorry if I seem annoyed. I'm not. I'm just tired. It's been a long week. I bet all my middle-aged followers out there right now are probably humming their small violins to me right now. Like, Jake, just get through it. You're a young man. Like, I know, but it's tired. I'm burning oak right now myself. Gets hot. Yeah, man, it does. It gets hot. It burns really slow. In fact, let's see how the vent's doing over here. Hey, buddy. Come here. Hey, player. This guy is so... In case you guys don't know, this is my cat right here. What's up, buddy? His name's Player. That's right, Player. Look at him. He's like, what the? Put me down, man. He's like, put me down, mofo. I'm like, okay. Come here. Hang on. Let me give you a hug. My buddy. He is a player. I'll give him that. All right. Yeah, fire's kind of dim, but that's that oak back there burning. These candles are nice. Ambiance. Fire looks good from here. Awesome, man. Yep. I'm burning oak right now myself. Gets hot. Any organic ways to get rid of clover? Sunny Sharma, I'm sure there's products out there, but I don't know of any products specifically that can help you out as far as going organic with it. So I'll have to get back to you on that. Because I'm not really sure. But if you want, I'll leave my email down here at the bottom of the chat. You can email me, and then I can do some searching. If I find anything, I'll send it to you. If not, your best bet would be to just let the weeds overwinter, and then again, your goal next year being to nurture the grass that you have, and then once you get to the fall, you can fill in the gaps and improve the overall turf density, if you will, by going ahead and doing a fall seeding. Where are you guys going? Yeah, stop that. No, close the door. Shut it. Dad's girlfriend's trying to taunt the cat, so he'll go outside. It's all fun. I mean, it's all fun. There's nothing behind it, but it's like she's like tempted to see if the cat will go outside. I'm like, don't do it. Don't risk it. Shut up, Aiden. Don't bull on me, Jakey. Okay, Aiden, God, thanks. Thanks, Jake. Gonna go for it. Jesse, I wish you the best of luck, man. I would nuke the Zoysia. Oh, that's something else. Here, I'm just gonna go around to Fescue Freddy here. My dad has it here in Baltimore, and he is getting. It's not for me. Are you doing any more Next apps this year, Mike Morris? Yeah. In fact, going into the winter on the warm days, my main priority now is going to be, again, continue improving that soil quality. So you're going to see a ton of videos coming over the winter. That is if we get any more warm days, which is unpredictable at this point with the weather. But I'm sure the weather will break for a couple of days and we'll get temperatures in the 50s and the soil will be pliable, right? And because of that, I'm going to take advantage of that and work on the soil. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about that, I recommend you subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for all of those videos coming up later next year. 2 years of overseeding with tall fescue. If I continue, will it dominate the old bluegrass? Well, David Thomas, here's how I want you to think about it. It really doesn't matter, especially if you mow the lawn tall, right? Because bluegrass and fescue, they look good together, especially if you keep them mowed at a fairly tall height. I believe the ideal height is about 3 3/4 inches. But if you have fescue in there, mostly fescue, you can probably get away with mowing at 4 inches, and on top of that, taking your striping game to the next level. So by all means, man, if a mono stands what you want, go for it. But don't overthink it. Just put down the fescue seed. My buddy Aiden did it to his bluegrass lawn up front, and man, is that fescue looking great. In fact, for those of you guys who want more of a taller cut lawn, I do recommend fescue for that. Because one thing fescue is good for is it has it's a wide bladed grass, and on top of that it's very rigid, it's very solid, right? When you walk on it, when it's mowed at those taller heights, you're not really going to lay much over if you happen to walk on the lawn. If you happen to overdo it with the foot traffic, whereas the bluegrass, which is more of a thin, flexible type blade when it gets really long, it's very easy for that stuff to lay over and start choking things out if you don't man to it right away. So, by all means, man, I'm telling you, if it dominates the bluegrass, look at it this way: you're getting something that's more rigid and that is going to do better at those taller heights. Whereas if it's the other way around, I recommend bluegrass for sure, because bluegrass does really good cut low. When you do that, you're going to stimulate lateral growth, which will shade all of the soil surface area, the entirety of the soil surface area, from any sun, and because of that, you're less likely going to have a weed breakthrough. And on top of that, when you're mowing frequently like that, weeds aren't going to have a chance to take over anyway. So that's my take on that. What's your name? David. That's my take on that. Just keep overseeding with whatever you want. If you want to do more tall fescue, do it. If you want to do bluegrass, do it. Just know that you have flexibility in this game. It's not going to be that bad. Thank you for answering my question. Great explanation. DIY, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Monster. Carbonex has carbon first off. It has humic acid, both organic and synthetic. Think it's going to have peptides coming in. I can't wait to hear more about that. Everybody's talking about these peptides. I know nothing about the peptides, haven't read into them yet, but I'm looking forward to learning more about it next year as I continue to work with Matt as he continues to build this product. Why do liquid fertilizers require less nitrogen versus granular? Okay, so this is a great question, Explicit. I don't really know the exact reason, but all I know is that when John with Greene County, when they make their products, they formulate them in a way so that even the lowest amount of nutrient value that you give to your lawn is going to be very effective, right? They like I've talked about before, they have the humic acid in there, they have the sea kelp, they have pretty similar active ingredients that you get with the that you get with the granular products like the Carbon X, albeit a little lower compared to it, because with Carbon X you're putting down 3/4 pound of nitrogen, whereas with the 1801 Green Punch you're only doing about 1/4. Now I don't know if that's a rule, if that's a foolproof rule with all liquid manufacturers. I don't know if they all do it that way, but all I know is that John is the only one that does it that way, and his reasoning behind that is solely to focus less on giving the lawn nitrogen and focusing more on what he can do to improve the soil, right? Because if you can get the lawn to adapt and look, if you can get the lawn to adapt and come in really good with low amounts of nitrogen, and in the process focus on implementing other macros and micros to help build the soil, then you're going to win in the long term, because it's not going to take as much as it does now if you've been hammering the crap out of your lawn with nitrogen to keep it green and vigorous, right? Because the idea behind their thinking is, okay, we're going to get our customers on a lower end input program for lower cost, lower effort, all that stuff. And on top of that, we're going to formulate our products in a way that make them very effective. And that's what they've done. That's what they've accomplished. So I hope that answers your question. I know that didn't answer the liquid versus granular thing, but that's just because I don't know. I've never used anything else, right? I've only used Green County products. And all I can tell you is that after using them, and after hearing from John, Brad, and everybody that works at Green County, it's good. It's a good reason why they have very low amount of nitrogen. And Matt, with Carbon Earth, they have their reasoning for going with high amounts of nitrogen, right? But in the end, it's all about how you want to do it. You can go high nitrogen or low nitrogen, right? It's not like there's no set way that you have to do it. You can hit your lawn with nitrogen and get that nice growth spout within a week that makes your lawn look really good, or you can take it slow, right? You can take it slow and start working your nitrogen doses down so that your lawn can look good with very little. You can do it however you want. There's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong in lawn care. It's only learning based on how your lawn responds. Like, what does it like? What it doesn't like, right? You just got to figure that out as you go. Okay. A couple more minutes and then 7:30 comes around. Got to get off here. Avengers Organic and will clover. However, it will take repeated applications and is non-selective. Maureen, to add a little bit more on that, I'm not a scientist, but one thing I have observed when using those fast organic weed killers that will have the foliage wilting within hours is that the only downside to using an organic weed control like that is they're more of a contact herbicide as opposed to your chemical weed controls like glyphosate, which are going to be more systemic. Now, to explain what I mean by that, contact is when you spray the product and it stays on the leaf, right? It's just going to stay on the leaf and kill whatever it touches and hopefully get down deep in the plant. Whereas systemic, if it's a systemic herbicide like our glyphosate or our typical chemical that we're used to using, then what that means is that once you spray it, it's not only going to be absorbed through the leaf tissue, but once it's there, it's going to translocate itself throughout the plant, which means it's going to give you more of a direct kill. It's going to take a little bit longer to see results because, again, the herbicide is in there working. Now, again, don't take my word for that. This is just me using, this is just my conclusion based on observation. But what I'm able to gather here is that the systemic herbicides take longer, like glyphosate, they take longer because they're moving throughout the plant, whereas the contact herbicides like Natria or Dip Out, I found another one, I can't remember what it's called, just organic weed killers in general, which are going to be more of a contact, you're going to see results within hours. Within minutes, actually. You're going to see wilting within minutes. And the only reason that is because the product's not moving throughout the plant, but it's more so focused on getting rid of the foliage. Make sense? Hmm. With putting down Carbon X, people always follow it with Green Punch. Why? Well, DIY Lawn Monster, I don't really know. I've never really tried that. But I guess the reasoning behind it is it only helps. It's only going to help, right? As I talk about. If you think about maybe applying an application 1801 with Carbon X, you want to use them synergistically, by all means, go ahead and do it. It's only going to help. You're getting all the humic, all the micros, all the macros, all of that. It's just going to help improve the quality. Hmm. Man, there are some good questions in here tonight. Fescue Freddy, I'm with you. I'm having a good time answering these. Okay, real quick, explicit. I want to go ahead and clear something because I myself struggled with this for quite some time, but as I've grown and as I've gotten smarter over the years and I've started to realize, okay, this is right, this is what's not right, I want to go ahead and give you my input on this. So, explicit, like I talked about earlier, there's no right or wrong amount of nitrogen. There's no right or wrong amount of nitrogen that you can give to your lawn. You can give it 3/4 pound per application. You can give it 1/4 pound for a pound of nitrogen. It's all based on how you're willing to spend your time. Do you want to spray liquids with low amounts of nitrogen, or do you want to spread granular with high amounts of nitrogen? Whatever you do, it's going to help. But let me go ahead and explain the reasoning here, because explicit, the main reason that you often hear the stable amount being 3 to 4 pounds per thousand is because most of the studies conducted at your universities, they're mostly accounting for lawns that are going to be bagged. And what I mean by that is when you mow the lawn, you bag all the clippings, you don't put them back in, you just take them away completely, right? And if there's one thing I advocate when it comes to mowing, it's that you always mulch your clippings back down into the ground, as there is good nutrient value right there. It's a good way to recycle and just utilize things that you've already put into the lawn and just recycle them, thus making it so that you don't have to apply as much nitrogen. So 3 to 4, not a foolproof rule, but again, that's if you're constantly bagging and taking away all of your nutrients, right? That's just what works for that situation. Especially on golf courses, right? You got to think about it. Like when they cut the golf greens, they're constantly bagging those clippings and taking them away, right? And they have to do that because the courses have to look clean for their golfers, right? They can't leave the clippings everywhere like they can if they were cutting 3 to 4 inches of bluegrass. So they have to get that off there. And when they do that, the way that they have to compensate for that is they have to hit the lawn with more nitrogen, right? It's the same thing in our home lawns. If we're constantly bagging and taking away our clippings, you need that higher amount. But I think it's smart if we have the control, we're cutting our lawns regularly. Let's be smart here. Let's stop taking away those nutrients. Let's take the bags off and just let those clippings break down and go back down into the ground where they belong, because in the long term what they're going to do is they're going to contribute to nutrients, to nutrient aid for your lawn, thus making it so that you won't have to compensate with as much nitrogen. In fact, as you do that, you'll notice that as time goes on and you're applying, say, 2 pounds of nitrogen or 1.5 pounds of nitrogen for a whole season. Now, that's probably not where a lot of you are going to be if this is your first year doing this. Like me, I've learned a lot. Let's say 2 pounds at most, right? Let's say you've been applying 3 to 4 pounds a year, and that's with bagging your clippings. But then you start mulching your clippings, right? And then from there, let's say you start applying 2 pounds of nitrogen for an entire season. So that's probably what? A quarter, third pound of nitrogen each application, anywhere in that range. And you're doing that every 4 to 5 weeks throughout the season. And when you do that, like I said, hang on. Sorry, I'm a little tired here. But anyway, what was I going to say? You're fertilizing less. you're recycling your clippings, and because of that, you're going to get the same results you would with a little bit less pounds of nitrogen and a little bit less money spent on your part. So I hope that answered your question, DIY. If you have any more, once again, I do these every Friday. Come on here. I'll help you out. So, real quick, we'll do a couple of more and then I gotta get off here. Mike, what's up, bro? Hey, man, I saw your mustache. Looking good, brother. Steve, I appreciate your candor, but stop with the political messages, please. I'm not trying. Listen, for those of you guys on here, let's not get political on here. Please do me that solid, okay? Any of you guys in here who are just doing that to be funny or whatever, I don't know what you're doing. Listen, please don't bring politics or political figures in here, okay? This is a family, fun, friendly show that I'm doing here. I don't want to go down that avenue. There's too much that can go wrong, all right? Because at the end of the day, you know, we're all just people who have something in common, right? We don't want to destroy that. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. I appreciate you for understanding. I'm not trying to bash you or anything. I'm just saying, please, don't do that here. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Sorry if I sound a little crabby, dude. I haven't slept a lot this week. I've been editing videos, writing papers, all sorts of things. Finishing up my last year of high school. Let's see what we got here. If you're not following Lawncology and Next DIY Lawn, give them a follow. They go over this stuff a lot. Yes, Fescue Freddy, DIY, go follow Lawncology YouTube channel, Lawncology, and the Next DIY Lawn YouTube channel. They touch on this topic a lot, and I also touch on it on my channel as well. So if you haven't been around for a while, I recommend you subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, because I do videos all about this kind of stuff every Monday. And on top of that, Lawnfires every Friday at 6 o'clock. Lawn Care Business Success. What's up, brother? How you doing? What's up, man? Hey, listen, we still got to do that podcast together now, so don't let me down. Let's do this, man. Let's collaborate. I don't know how you guys going to school do all this stuff. Fescue Freddy, I couldn't agree with you anymore. In fact, the biggest problem I think with public schools nowadays, and I'm no politician or anything, but I think the biggest problem based on what I've been seeing and compared to how my parents grew up, because they told me about it, is that they're just pushing work. They're just pushing more and more work. You know, like they're making us write more. They're making us go to school the day after Halloween, which I think is stupid, by the way. And on top of that, they're just pushing work down our throats, right? Like, what happened to the way it used to be, right? What happened to quality? Instead of that, they're just giving us work and work and work. But you know what? I'm not going to get into that too much. That's how they do things. There's nothing I can do to change it, really, except just make the most of the time I have and just get my stuff done. That's pretty much what I do in school. I don't socialize. I don't sit at lunch with people. I'm always doing homework. Always doing homework so that I can have the weekends to free. I don't know. A lot depends on. Dennis Sarchis, I feel your pain, man, but I gotta say, here, let me shed a little bit of light here for you, brother. Don't get too sad now. Just know that this time of the year for us cool season people, and I really think this is an advantage for us over the warm season guys, especially Alan, dude. If you're watching this, I don't care. If you want to say something, if you want to tell me twice that I'm wrong, I don't care. I completely disagree with the fact that mowing all year round is satisfying. Because if I'm going to be honest with you, as much as I love mowing, it does get tiring after a while. It's just how it is. Especially with how busy I get during the winters. It's nice to have the winters off because I take it as a time to think about the successes and the failures I had throughout the season and how I successfully overcame those. And it gives me an opportunity to pat myself on the back and on top of that, evaluate and see what I can do better if I haven't done good, better next season to make the lawn 10 times better than what it is. So just know that, what was I going to say? So just know that times are going to be tough, man. Especially right now, going into winter. You're not going to be able to mow for quite some time. I understand. But you owe it to yourself to relax. We all owe it to ourselves to relax. You know, we've been working hard all year, harder than the neighbors, to make our lawns look the greenest, darkest, thickest, and most vigorous that they have ever been, right? And because of that, we owe it to ourselves to take these couple of months over the winter and relax. Oh, and dominate with our Christmas lights, which is something that I am going to be talking a lot more about in the next couple of weeks. Christmas lights here, Christmas lights at my grandma's house. Those of you guys who've been around last year, you've been seeing those Christmas light playlists. More to come on that next season. I love this. Cobart White, I agree with you. No relaxing indoors. As much as I say relax, I don't really mean relax. Let me go a little deep on this. So, I mean take a break from the lawn because, to be honest, we all need it. We take a break, we do something indoors, and on top of that, if you have any big projects that you want to take on in the lawn next year, you could take that time inside to focus on that. Like maybe you draw up a sketch of some landscape additions that you want to add on, right? Or hey, I want to make this section of the lawn or that section of the lawn bigger. I want to make this section look a little bit more greener, thicker, and fuller. And then you can go through all the videos and all the options that we have provided you throughout the year. And then you can take this winter to weigh out your options, right? So here's how I think about it. It's kind of like when I run my business, my lawn care business. I spend most of the summer outside working. I spend the winter time doing a little bit of the office work, like editing the videos, right? Making sure that my cash flow is coming in, all of that stuff. So work hard all year round, but at the same time, it's like, relax. We all got to, right? We owe it to ourselves. We owe it to ourselves. We've worked hard. Let me just say this. We worked hard on the lawn. We owe it to ourselves to take a break for a few days, regroup, think about what we can do to be better next season. So, that's all I got on that. Aiden, it's hard to get a 3.75 GPA and have a full, good YouTube channel. In fact, you know, about that GPA thing, I'm just going to be honest with you. Any of my school guys in here, I'll be open with you on this. I am not applying myself. Aiden, yes. Aiden texted me. I will be getting off here soon. Let me just say this one thing and then I'm done. Okay? So, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. David, I listen to podcasts. What was I talking about? Man, this always happens to me. Oh yeah, I was talking about high school. Okay, so the GPA thing, I have a good GPA, right? I do my work, I get my assignments in, I go home, right? The people around me, who are typical high school students, they care about how people perceive them. They're very involved in the school system. They're taking academic honor courses. When they look at me and they frown, right? They frown upon me, like, you're not going to apply yourself, right? Like, I have this one girl in my business class. I'm not going to give you her name, but she's always busting my chops. Like, you're not going to apply yourself. You're just going to graduate with a core 40. And I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm going to graduate with a core 40. You know why? Because you guys do nothing but invest your time in school, and that's totally fine. But me, I'm trying to build a career here, man. I'm hustling. I'm putting out 2 pieces of content a week on this channel, right? It takes a lot of work and dedication. And to take an academic class, that means more time studying and less time and less time being able to focus on this. And on top of that, if I make the time, I'm gonna have less time to be able to hang out with my family, right? Like, because as a kid, stuff like that's important. You know what I'm saying? Making time to slow down for a night and hang out with the family. And that's something that I wouldn't have if I took advanced classes in school, right? I could do it, but I'm not willing to put in that amount of work, especially with how busy I am right now. Like, and anybody at school who goes to my school, if you're watching this, because I told them I was going to be on tonight. I doubt they're in here, but if you're ever watching this, just know that you shouldn't be so judgmental on somebody based on how they do academically, right? If I want a core 40, I want a core 40. If you want to be advanced, you want to be advanced. It's all about what you want to do. It doesn't matter, all right? It's just a number. At the end of the day, a grade is just a number. I mean, yeah, I believe in the idea that you need to work hard, get good grades, but at the same time, it's like only apply for what you're fully committed to. That's what I think. Only apply for what you're committed to. But that's just me. That's how I approach it. You guys have your own way, and that's totally fine. Ha, that's right. Mike and Dad, you dead on. Dead on. I bet the kids at school are like, see, because that's the thing. They tell me that they want to they always tell me that they want to major in business or something, and I'm like, hey, if I ever need a manager, I'll give you a call, right? And I always try to throw that in there, and they're always like, no. But you know what? That's fine. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get off here. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in here once again. This is very fun and relaxing for me. It gives me like an hour to just step away from things and kind of slow down, have a conversation. It's always a lot of fun. So if you guys are new here, know that I do this at most every Friday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Albeit sometimes I'm a little late, but that's only because I got stuff going on before this, and there's no production assistant with this stuff. There's no full-time production assistant. It's just me and my phone, right? So it's me and my phone live in real time, and sometimes things just don't go as they are planned, right? So, you got to work with it and hustle through it and get the content out there best you can. So anyway, enough talking. I'm going to go ahead and get off here. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and if you did, I hope to see you guys next week. So with all that being said, I'm Jake the Lawn Kid. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time. If I don't see you guys next time, your lawn is going to be dominated. See you later. Gotta turn this thing off.